Hello and welcome to the second episode of Marie from the Block. We're still a baby, very much like the metaverse and Web3 and everything as a whole. But today I'm thrilled to be hosting Kate, who is currently in New York State, just like myself, where she works as a certified public. What's the A for?
A certified public accountant.
There you go. A CPA, which from experience from my friends very few friends, I think I have 2 or 3 friends to do that. It's one of the hardest things to pass. So well done, Kate.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. It is one of the more difficult professional certification exams, but nothing that anyone can't do if you just put your mind to it.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. And as always, our hope is that some of you guys might join us live, because then you can ask Kate all your questions, because she specializes in crypto taxes and in NFTs and anything to do with that blockchain arena. And it's such a minefield right now. Like no one really knows, what to do with it being legit, if there are even rules so far. So I think this is going to be a really helpful episode for a lot of you guys and girls. Kate, do you want to tell us, you did your CPA, which is kind of the type of qualification that parents are really proud that their kid did, it's like a super legit job. How did you then enter this space?
Well, it's funny you mentioned parenting. That actually did have a lot to do with why I decided to study accounting in college. So I was inspired by my dad to do this, but it actually was because in school, math was always my favorite subject when I was in middle school and high school. And my dad and I were brainstorming, what majors in college would be relevant for me that I might enjoy. And I didn't realize that if you major in math, the career paths for that are a bit more complex, just strictly majoring in mathematics. I also didn't realize that majoring in math at a university is actually much more intense than high school math. So my dad suggested maybe that I go the business route and take some courses that have math, incorporated in them, like accounting, like statistics, like finance, but had a little bit more of a business lens over it. And so that's why I went with an accounting degree and pursued the CPA exam, because the CPA exam encompasses just more than just accounting. So there's economics, there's finance, there's business writing, there's business strategy. So it seemed a little bit more broad and gave me some more career options. Then I just wanted to have options. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do at that point. I think like most people, when they're entering university and forced to make, difficult career decisions without really knowing what a career is actually like. So I was fortunate that pursuing the CPA path actually offered a few different types of careers, and I've taken most of them actually and tried them all out. So
yeah, no, I hear you. My sister, I think, was in similar shoes to you. Her favorite subject was physics, closely followed by math. But it was hard because I feel like people don't. I mean, Germany, where my family's from, is a country where it's kind of like you study and then you do that job for the rest of your life. So it's like, if you want to do brand marketing for a soccer club, there is a degree for that, and you can, you better have that degree.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I, for example, I studied international affairs. I really wanted to study history in England. And England is a lot more flexible. You can study history and go into banking, but if I had gone, I was telling people at the time, I was like 16, 17, oh, I want to study history. And everyone in Germany was like, you want to become a librarian?
A librarian.
Or like a high school history teacher. And I'm like, no, transferable skills. But so I feel you on like how hard it is to make that decision at the time. But it sounds like with accounting you chose, and I didn't know this, but it sounds like you, with the CPA and everything, you chose something that was actually quite varied. When about did you do that? And was there already some talk about Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, or was that did that come later?
No. You're gonna age me, but no, my studies were definitely pre-crypto being any level of mainstream conversation. Let's see, I started my university degree in 2008. And at that time, yeah, there was, no talk of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, not non-existent. And even when I graduated, I did an MBA as well, so I stayed a few extra years. So even when I graduated in 2015, 16, still was not part of our curriculum at all. I had started to hear about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in particular, at that point, but it was not part of our study. It wasn't discussed in any way in the first couple of years of my career. And to be honest, it really hasn't been discussed. So I've worked for a number of accounting firms, even up until as recently as this year. And cryptocurrency is not part of the everyday conversation. It's not top of the priority list for sort of mainstream accounting firms to train their staff on, to speak with their clients about integrating into their businesses. And so that's something that I feel is really important. And that's why I took the opportunity to kind of branch off and focus on this, because I saw how big the space has the potential to impact every industry. And the fact that it wasn't being prioritized by traditional CPA firms really scared me, actually. And so I thought someone needs to focus on this and get the information out there. And to my pleasant surprise, in the world of Twitter and Discord, there are so many people in the NFT and crypto space that are eager for this information and have been focusing on this space for a long time. And just find that really inspiring. And I feel really grateful to have found a sort of niche community that appreciates the information. So,
Yeah. I mean, that was a good buzzword there. I think part of what I want to do with Marie from the block, wordplay on Jenny from the block, my first
I
like
love it.
dance show when I was 10 years old, to the audience of my parents. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to be like of service to people exploring the space. So I think it's such an honor to have you on, because that is what you do. Like for your day to day, you help people understand the space. Actually, do you want to, I don't know if this will work with the platform that we have, but do you want to just write down like your website or your Twitter account, or, how people can reach you, and then I can post it on the show?
Sure. Do I do it in the chat?
Yeah, you do it in the chat, and then
Okay.
I will like display it, and then I'll read it out loud if anyone is listening rather than watching.
There's my website, and then on Twitter.
Okay, let's see. I will make a little banner. This is very cool. I love this tool.
Oh, very cool.
Maybe I shouldn't share this with, other creators. No, I should share this with other creators. But if anyone does like their own show on YouTube or wants to do like a YouTube podcast, StreamYard, doing free advertising here, StreamYard is a really good, easy to use platform to do that. So I just wanted to add that. So yeah, Kate's website, it's easy to remember. It's taxeswithkate.com. Yeah. So it's not even taxeswithkate.eth or XYZ, taxeswithkate.com.
No, I did get a .eth address as well, but for the website we're still using traditional.com. But we actually are going to be rebranding the website as of the new year, but the current website as it stands will still point to the new business name and domain. It's more than just Kate now, so we've been meaning to do a rebrand for a while. So the new year seems
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just said we. Who's part of the team, and how did that happen? How did you bring other people on board?
Yeah, so it started as just me stepping out to do some consulting and just sort of really assess the space. And as we mentioned, it's a much bigger space than you realize at the onset. And there are actually a lot of people who we know found this information valuable and wanted to find a new CPA for taxes or for consulting. And so I realized very quickly that actually there's an opportunity here to really start a business, and I just needed some more hands to help me. And so been slowly finding trusted business partners to come along for the journey, people who are equally passionate about where this space is going. And so it's much more than Taxes with Kate, even though I'm sort of the one out speaking, doing most of the public facing side of the work. But yeah, I think we sort of outgrew Taxes with Kate in a very short period of time. And I can't reveal our new name yet, but as of the new year, look out for our new brand name. Taxes with Kate website and everything will still point you in the right direction, though, going forward. And I'll still be, out sort of as the face of it, so that won't change. But our name will just be a little bit more representative of who we are.
Nice. And I'm a journalist, like born and raised.
Oh, nice.
So if you want to give me a scoop of the new year name, I'll be sure to break it or advertise it.
Appreciate that. Oh, that would be great. That would be great. Yeah.
So you were saying that like the people that have joined you, they're as excited about where the space is heading as you. Can you zoom in a little on that, and where do you think in terms of taxes and accountability and these things? I mean, people always shriek away when they hear taxes, but this doesn't have to be a bad thing. This can create potentially like clarity, maybe help people avoid scams. I mean, I'm speaking dreamland here. Most of people think of it more as like the enemy, but where do you think, what will we see in the next few years, especially here in the United States?
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point. Taxes don't have to be something to be feared or bad or scary. Just as a general rule of thumb, if you owe taxes, that means you did something right. You either earned money or you saw a gain on an investment that you made, which is a good thing. And I think people forget that you do get to keep most of that. So if you're paying taxes, you are actually keeping the vast majority of the money that you either earned or saw as a realized gain on an investment that you made. And so it's if you owe taxes, congratulations, because that means you've done something well. And I think people sort of neglect to remember that. But yeah, you're right. Taxes kind of always do have a stigma for being scary. And I think people just don't understand a lot of the basics. And that's why I spend most of my time on Twitter and Discord, just trying to get the basic information out for people and getting people to understand what constitutes a taxable transaction in the crypto and NFT space, just so that people are aware when they're transacting, if it's going to trigger any type of tax or not. Because I think if you at least know that much, you don't necessarily need to know how to calculate the amount of tax you owe. But if you know that what you're doing has tax consequences that might, impact the way that you transact and the decisions that you make. And so a lot of people have been operating without that basic knowledge, and then retrospectively finding out that they owe tax for all these different transactions that they didn't think were triggering taxable events. So that's sort of the North Star goal, one of them anyway, behind my work on Twitter and Discord. And I think to your other point as well, that we can certainly touch on too, is sort of where the legislation and government, stance is headed on this, because there hasn't been a lot of official guidance from the IRS in particular here in the States about the treatment of crypto and NFTs. And so that will be coming in the future. But for now, in the meantime, it's just up to CPAs like myself to interpret the current tax code as it stands and figure out how crypto and NFTs fit into the current tax code as it stands. And then we apply the current guidance as it is onto the crypto and NFT transactions.
Yeah. So completely just abusing the situation because I've got you here one-on-one.
Yeah,
with me as an example. So for background, I first heard about Bitcoin in 2011 because I had a really smart friend who, her name was Katie, so similar to yours, who was working on a startup, and she was exploring maybe using Bitcoin as a form of payment. But at the time, I thought the space was so hostile with its language. Like, I just remember she was saying me, like, and it's not her fault, this is just what it was called, but she was saying, like, people mine Bitcoin, and I come from a family of, like, from a region where people went mining, in Germany. So I was expecting, like, people, like, go underground and then, like, batter, like, computers or whatever. I didn't even know you could buy, like, just normally, a lot of these early adapters were saying, oh, I drove to Virginia and, like, went to this, like, CD place and bought Bitcoin. I didn't even know you could do that. Not I probably would not have done that, but I didn't know that was an option. But so I started early in the spring this year, in, like, February, mainly because in New York, you have those screens on the side of the roads, like the link screens, and it will show, like, the sports results and when the metro is coming and the weather. And it said something about where Bitcoin is heading and how much it had fluctuated. And I was like, this is really interesting. I kind of want to get my hands dirty with this. And I was really cautious. I got Coinbase, and I would just, like, put $20 into something and see what happens over, like, a month. And it was, like, wild. You would get these notifications, like, I started with Bitcoin and Ethereum, and now I have about 8 or 11, including some that I, like, earned through lessons. But it's still, I mean, basically, like, with the volume of what I have, I could maybe pay 1 month's rent in New York. So we're talking very small amounts. But for someone like me, who's just learning to, like, buy the dip and, like, not panic and hodl, what do I need to be aware of? Like, do I have to do anything this far? Like, because I do have some cryptocurrencies. Like, I remember buying Ethereum, and it was really low in September, so that's gone up a lot. And same with Solana. So say by year's end, because I think the tax year is the same as the calendar, right? Year, right? Correct. Like, it ends. Like, say I made 30% on my initial investment, just in a cryptocurrency, just on Coinbase, these teeny tiny amounts that I'm dealing with. Do I then have to tell anyone about that, or, like, how do I report that? And how do I make sure I'm on the good side there?
Great question. And no need to stress. You are probably in the same boat as most crypto investors. So this will be great information. So in your circumstance, when you purchased cryptocurrency using US dollars, that's not a taxable event, but the IRS does view you as buying property. The cryptocurrency as a whole is all classified as property by the IRS rather than currency. So the difference there is, rather than you, like, exchanging US dollars for Canadian dollars, the IRS doesn't view you as exchanging currencies when you use US dollars to purchase cryptocurrency. It views you actually as buying property, an investable asset. So when you use your US dollars to buy any type of cryptocurrency, that's not taxable. However, if you were to exchange any of your cryptocurrencies for another type of coin within Coinbase's exchange, that is a taxable event. So if you initially bought some Bitcoin and then you realized, Ethereum looks great, I've learned about this now, and you exchange some of your Bitcoin for Ethereum, that exchange is seen by the IRS as a simultaneous sale of your Bitcoin and purchase of your Ethereum. And
right. So, that's like selling the beach house to get the mountain lodge.
Yes. So if you had any gains on the Bitcoin at that time, you'd be recognizing your taxable gain. And so the gain amount is what would be taxable. And if you did it within a 12-month period, from when you originally bought the Bitcoin, if it had been less than 12 months, that's what's called a short-term capital gain.
Yeah.
And short-term capital gains are taxed at your ordinary income rate, which is generally higher than the long-term capital gains rate. So if you can hodl for 12 months, I know it's not really a true hodl, it's like borderline paper hands there, but if you can hold for at least 12 months, you'll be in the long-term capital gains category. And those rates are generally lower. It's usually average about 15% for most people.
Yeah.
It's also dependent on your income tax bracket. But so when you exchange one crypto for another, that's taxable. Not sure if that would apply to you. It doesn't.
I don't even know how to do that.
Okay, it's really easy. Within Coinbase, you can just swap, basically, swap one token for another. If you haven't done that, though, then that's great. You don't have to worry about that. It doesn't sound like you've exchanged any crypto back to US dollars. It doesn't sound like you've
Oh, I
cashed
did. I did. I
Okay,
did that because I got a puppy in June, and
nice.
he had like every disease in the book in the first month, and so I cashed out. It was good timing, by the way. It was before Bitcoin had one of its big dips, but I cashed out
Okay,
some of my Bitcoin, and again, I'm talking like $130 worth of Bitcoin. Like,
gotcha.
don't
Yeah.
come for me. I'm like, anyone watching this,
No,
I'm
no,
not
no, no,
crypto
no.
rich. I'm like, so I just cashed some out and into dollars into my normal bank account.
No.
Is that something that will be bad for me?
No, 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 it's not bad at all. But it is a taxable transaction. So when you cash out in exchange for fiat again, you'll also trigger a capital gains tax. So the amount of Bitcoin that you effectively sold for US dollars, any gain amount on that Bitcoin will be taxed to you as capital gains. And the challenge, I don't want to overly complicate this for you, but the challenge is actually calculating what that gain amount is, because what we need to do is first calculate what's called your cost basis in the Bitcoin. And for a lot of people, cost
What's
basis
that
is
word? Could you? Oh, the cost basis. Okay.
cost
Yeah.
basis. Yep. And so for a lot of people, it's quite difficult to calculate because most people will do what's called dollar cost averaging when they purchase crypto. And so they'll buy small pieces for, you know, a year's time, one purchase every couple of weeks. And then over a period of a year, they accumulate an amount of, say, Bitcoin. And the problem is every time you've made a purchase in Bitcoin, Bitcoin has been valued at a different amount. And so your cost, the cost to you to purchase that Bitcoin has fluctuated at every time you've made a purchase. And so if we're thinking about the capital gain as the gain amount being the difference between what you bought it for and what you sold it for on the day that you switched to US dollars, if the cost is vastly different every time you've purchased, then how do we calculate that, right?
Yeah.
So there are a couple of different methods that the IRS allows for that calculation. There's one which is called average cost basis. So you would just do that, take the average cost basis from all of those purchases, and then apply that to the proportionally to the amount of the Bitcoin that you're then selling at the time. So you can get an average cost basis, use that. There are other more complicated methods called HIFO and FIFO, which is highest in, first out, and first in, first out, which if you have I'm not suggesting that you should do this, but if you're someone that has a lot higher volume of transactions and maybe has some more significant capital gains that they've recognized throughout the year, experimenting with the different calculation methods for cost basis could have pretty significant tax impacts for your gain calculation. So if you're in that situation, we'll run all three calculations for you to see which one would give you the most advantageous capital gains tax amount. But for you, don't worry. If you honestly only have like one or two taxable transactions for the whole year, you can do your own calculations pretty easily. Save yourself the money getting an account with a third party software like Coin Tracker or Zen Ledger that handle calculating all of the valuation stamps for you throughout the year. If you just have a couple, then you could probably handle doing it manually. But if that's scary, then there are third party software providers like Coin Tracker and Zen Ledger that will take your data imports and then run all the calculation and valuation lookups for you.
Well, that's actually great advice. I only cashed out twice, and both times it was because I needed liquidity, like once because of my puppy, and then once last week because I was at Art Basel and the Miami Uber prices were driving me insane. So I literally cashed out, I think I cashed out Solana and Cardano, and I got so lucky. I cashed out Friday morning before that huge crash from Friday night to Saturday. So I woke up and I was like,
wow, that's great.
But yeah, like again, that shows like I'm still very much in the experimental phase, that I cash out on a significant chunk of my stuff and it's just about enough to pay for these ridiculous like taxi fares in Miami. But so yeah, I've done that twice this year, but both times I took screenshots of like the little window, like this is the exchange rate, so that might be helpful for me. But you were saying something that was interesting. First, about dollar cost averaging. Personally, I did not do that. I kind of became a nerd. So I set myself these rules of like, I will buy more if it dips below this for each currency. But, people who are maybe not in the space yet, or even don't even have Coinbase or any type of tool to buy cryptocurrencies, can you explain what that is? What that means?
Dollar cost averaging? Sure. So essentially, what dollar cost averaging does is it allows you to lower your cost basis over time, in theory. And so rather than, especially if you're a newer investor, rather than save US dollars to then invest in crypto, let's just use $1,000 as an example. So say I saved up $1,000 and I want to throw it into crypto. If I do that, then I'm locked into one price for, say, Bitcoin. And so my entire investment then would be tied to one valuation of Bitcoin. But then, as you know, in a matter of days, Bitcoin can fluctuate 30%. And so say I put my $1,000 into Bitcoin, and then 24 hours later, it was maybe last Friday and the value dipped significantly. And so now I'm thinking, oh, I could have bought a lot more because the valuation just went down. And so what dollar cost averaging does is if you saved up $1,000, and I've made this recommendation to people, rather than put it all in at once, put it in $100 at a time and buy every 2 days, buy once a week, spread it out, however, whatever period of time you're comfortable with. And then what that'll do is, you'll be buying at different valuations, but then in theory, over time, you'll get a better representation of the value of Bitcoin over that period of time. So your buy-in price will be averaged out amongst the period of time that you choose to buy in. And so if you're a less sophisticated investor and you don't know to watch for a dip, and you don't really know what a dip even looks like yet because you haven't been paying attention for the very long, I think dollar cost averaging makes the most sense, and it'll protect you from buying really high and putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. So hopefully that clarifies it a little.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I'm actually just everyone who knows the show and has, entertained themselves in this area. I'm going to have my little banner here because, as always, even though Kate is super well informed, this is her stance, and this is not financial advice, and you must do your own research. I keep telling people this. My friends come to me and they're like, should I buy this, golden retriever coin or whatever, I don't know,
right.
kitten, whatever. And I'm like,
maybe
is
it, yeah.
But I don't. So people, it's tough because I'm a journalist, and I trust journalists, maybe unpopular in such like a libertarian space, but I understand that big legacy media brands have editors and fact checkers, and so there's a process there. And for lack of a better word, like a little bit of gatekeeping and a safety net, and everything is protected by the government, where this space is kind of like the Wild West. So when you do your own research, I remember I was like searching in I think it was in August, I searched Web3 on Spotify. And so then I just listened to all these episodes by really smart people talking about Web3, but I hadn't heard of any of them. And same on YouTube and blogs, and that's scary, or when people like try and recommend things to you on Discord and you don't know them. That's scary to me because I don't know, I grew up like trusting people who have like some kind of intellectual authority. So we, people watching this, we really hope that, by having really accomplished guests on, we're sharing that expertise with you all. But you have to, even when it comes to things like setting up your Coinbase account, or do you even use Coinbase? There are all these other exchanges. You must really make that choice for yourselves. Just wanted to do the stern parent voice
Definitely. And yes, and I'll just piggyback the disclaimer, while I am a CPA and I am technically licensed to be able to give financial advice, please don't take this as personal financial advice. I haven't reviewed your individual personal circumstances, and I'm not advising on your individual, financial situation. If you become my client, then I can definitely do that for you. But yeah, for purposes, this is just for informational purposes. Trying to get the basic information out there for everyone.
Awesome. And so I think the reason, the way I first found you on Twitter, which is Twitter is kind of like the LinkedIn for blockchain.
Twitter's fantastic. I had no idea until I really, got into the space. Yeah, but how powerful of networking and a really networking tool, and where it's really where the community is located. I think even more so. I mean, yes, Discord to a significant degree for specific NFT communities, but Twitter really is the place where you can find all of the people, all the players, all the news. Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Actually, slight side question before I ask about the thing I wanted to ask about on Twitter. Discord. Like, I think it's funny. Over Thanksgiving, I stayed with some friends of mine so I grew up in a family of 4 girls and they have 3 boys. So, I mean, I don't want this to sound like girls, boys-ish. Like, I grew up in a family of tomboys, you all played soccer and sports and everything, but they are like big into gaming, So the 3 boys, and my family, no one really does games. We played like Sims or Zoo Tycoon when we were little, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. But they knew Discord as like a gaming platform, and I only started using Discord in like August and September, and I logged on and I was like, this is like Slack.
Yes, that's exactly what I would equate it to. Yep, exactly.
But can you, people who are like, what on earth is Discord? Can you maybe tell them about that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm fairly new to Discord as well this year, and really just started using it for NFTs. But yeah, it is sort of like Slack, like you described. So every NFT project that I've been interested in has created a Discord. And so you can, on your Discord homepage, every NFT project has a different channel that you can click into, and then you'll see a bunch of different, within that project's channel, a bunch of different channels that have different chat topics or pieces of information about the project. And everyone who's part of that community has joined the Discord group and can comment and chat, ask questions, interact with the project developers and the team. And so, yeah, I mean, Discord is great. And I think there actually are a lot of features that I haven't explored yet. But it's sort of, I wouldn't say like social media, but it's really more of a communication tool for building community. And so I think it's worth exploring. I can find it a little bit overwhelming at times, to be honest, because I think a lot of the groups that I'm in, like Sad Girls Bar, for instance, the community has grown so much that like once you get like thousands of members in a Discord group, the general chat is just impossible to even keep up with. Like I'll click into the general chat and you just bing, 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 and you can't follow the conversation at all. So that's why I do like Twitter, because you can kind of take the information in at my own pace. But Discord is great. I mean, you really need to be on Discord to get the most up-to-date announcements. I find like most NFT projects in particular will post an announcement on Discord before they tweet about it. And so if you're in the Discord and make a habit of checking, your favorite projects on a fairly regular basis, you'll be the most up-to-date that you can be.
Yeah,
also,
guys, I just
Girls Bar, by the way.
Yeah, no, that was my first NFT.
Was it?
I love
really?
her. Yeah, and
First what made you choose?
First of all, I really wanted to support female artists, not just in terms of like being feminist, but also because there are so few. And I come from I came into NFTs from loving sports, so I understood the NBA Top Shots or soccer trading cards. All of that made complete sense to me. Other people are like, oh, you can just like watch the YouTube video or whatever, and I'm like, but then you don't own it, So when I was little, I grew up in Germany, and whenever there was a soccer World Cup, we would, in like little chocolates, you could collect cards of the players. And then there was the Panini album craze. That's an Italian brand. So they make these kind of photo albums of all the players. And with the World Cup, I think it's 32 teams. something like that, and 32 different countries, and then they all have 23 players. So you've got like 600 or so different player cards. And so when I was little, the first World Cup I remember was the 2002 World Cup in Japan and South Korea. Sorry, big tangent here. Bear
No,
with me,
it's
everyone.
great.
Like, and in that World Cup, you know, this was the time where Ronaldo, we call him the original Ronaldo, the fat, chubby Brazilian Ronaldo who scored all the goals. He was the most famous player, and Germany had guys like Michael Ballack, who later played for Michael Ballack. He played for Chelsea later in the Premier League, and so everyone wanted players like that. But you know, those were the most rare cards. So this is like the whole scarcity, artificial scarcity thing about NFTs. That, you know, we now see in these profile picture collections of 10,000, where it's like generated features. So maybe there are like 400 different features, and they have different combinations. And then, I mean, with Sad Girls Bar, if anyone's unfamiliar with the project, so there are these 10,000 ladies who are all really beautiful and in black and white, and they're in a bar, and they're all just standing around holding drinks, looking gorgeous and looking very sad. And so you can find, you know, women with short hair, long hair. You can have black backgrounds or white backgrounds. You can have different cocktails that they're holding. Some like have a, but for example, like kitten is really rare, or red eyeshadow is really rare, or like a red leather jacket is really rare. So there's actually this thing called Rarity Tools, a website. Again, use with caution. Like, don't try and hack the rarity thing too much, in my opinion. Just get NFTs that you like, or where you support the artist, because then, I mean, if the NFT goes down in value, then at least you own something that you really love and you supported a young artist. But with Discord, I had the same reaction as you, where I would join the Discord channels of NFT projects I was interested in. That's how I first started using Discord. And after 2 days, I had to delete it from my phone because I was so overwhelmed. And there's so many like sorry to use that word. There were so many awful projects that I think were just money grabs. And I also find, maybe this is a massive generalization, but I find that with the women in the space that I've seen, they come into it wanting to showcase their art, and they're just looking for a new arena to sell their art, find new people. Whereas a lot of guys are kind of like, this seems like a cool way to make money, so I'm gonna make an animated owl. People are obsessed with animal NFTs, and then, you know, tell people it's the new shit, and then everyone is gonna buy it. And then I really don't like that side of NFTs, because I think a lot of people who maybe come into it really hopeful to make a quick buck or flip NFTs for profit are gonna like lose money.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think Gary Vee's made a point this month in particular to just tell a lot of people, hey, you know, caution, 95% of these NFT projects are probably going to go to zero. You know, not to say you shouldn't buy things that you like, you know, support artists that you think are interesting, but just be aware that not every project is the next Bored Ape Yacht Club. So you just need to use caution if money is your motivator. But I think you summed it up really well in saying, you know, buy art that you like, but, you know, support artists that you find, you know, interesting, that you can learn about and want to support. And then if the project does well, great. I mean, but if you're not really principally treating it as an investment, then you can't lose, right? You're buying collectibles that you enjoy. So and I actually
for me,
collectible so freely, because from a tax perspective, NFTs, I sincerely hope do not become classified as collectibles. So I retract that word choice.
Yeah, I mean, where are we with NFTs? Is it, you know, people, you mentioned the Bored Ape Yacht Club. For people that are unfamiliar with that, I would say, culturally speaking, right now, the two most important NFT collections are CryptoPunks, which were kind of like the OG. I think they were launched in 2017. Which is also an avatar, like a kind of profile picture collection of 10,000 different CryptoPunks. And then the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is more recent, but has got like this cultural momentum, you know, like Steph Curry has it. It was being on an NBA shoe, you know, I think Tyrese Halliburton, I think is his name, really young, great basketball player. He literally wore it to a game on his shoe. Jimmy Fallon has one. You know, you have all these people, and even when you're in this community, like when I was in Miami, people would wear their Bored Ape
Right.
Yacht Club hoodies.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a members club almost now, like in popular culture. But where does that stand? Like these people wearing the hoodies now, how does the IRS treat that? Is it like, oh, this is their sports car, or this is their primary residence, or this is a bond that they hold? How is this seen? How are NFTs viewed?
So there is no official guidance yet for NFTs. So that's my first disclaimer. And so, similar to what we were talking about earlier with cryptocurrency, anytime there's a gap in official legislation, it's just up to CPAs to interpret the current tax code and then figure out where NFTs fall, sort of within the current legislation. And so, so yeah, that's sort of where I've spent all my time focusing lately, is researching NFTs in particular, because there's the least amount of official guidance. And there's a lot of nuance within NFTs that is sort of unique to that space in particular. And a lot of people have been asking about these different situations and transactions and how that might be taxed. But essentially, NFTs would be, in my professional opinion, treated as property as well. So subject to capital gains tax on the buying and selling of NFTs as assets. And so you'll have very similar taxable transactions, being when you buy one, if you use US dollars, that's not a taxable transaction. However, the key difference is when you purchase an NFT using cryptocurrency, because we talked about cryptocurrency is classified as property. When you buy an NFT using cryptocurrency, the IRS will view that as a simultaneous sale of your cryptocurrency and purchase of an NFT. So you're actually subject to capital gains tax on the underlying crypto when you buy an NFT using cryptocurrency. So just buying an NFT using crypto being a taxable event is really hard for people to wrap their head around. Like, I just bought something. How am I, expected to owe tax? But due to the classification of cryptocurrency at the moment, that is the appropriate tax treatment. So NFT transactions generally always have a taxable event attached to them, which makes them a bit unique. And again, that's due to the fact that there's underlying cryptocurrency, behind almost all of them. I actually did buy an NFT using US dollars on Nifty Gateway just to try it out, because I wanted to see if it was actually possible. And it is. I bought a crypto check using a credit card just to try it. Cool. It's like, all right. And it worked.
What's Nifty? What's Nifty Gateway?
Just another NFT platform, like OpenSea, like Suite. And it was kind of a pain to get my NFT off of Nifty Gateway and into my MetaMask so that it could show in my collection on OpenSea, because I just wanted to make sure I could like move it around. But once I sort of figured that out and paid some gas, which was unfortunate, I was able to move it. So now I wouldn't recommend moving it just for the sake of moving it, because gas is not cheap. But anyway, yeah, it is possible to purchase NFTs using US dollars. And I imagine that will continue to be a trend, just so that more people have access to the NFT marketplace going forward.
Yeah, that's huge in sports, actually. So Dapper Labs, which, Dapper Labs is one of those brands that does such a good job at branding, but also for its users at the moment. They created the NBA Top Shots. So NBA Top Shots, for those unfamiliar, are kind of like special basketball moments that really happen. So it'll be like a dunk by LeBron James, or a really good dribble, or an assist by James Harden, and all particular to the NBA, to the American Basketball League. And you can buy like a set of like 3 cards, I think for $9 right now, a beginner set. And then there's like music, and then they're like little silver wrapping cards, and you click on them and it opens it. So for people new to the space who are sports fans like I was, this is a really cool experience, because I'm not telling you to buy one, I'm just telling people like how it works, it's the same as when we were little and we would go to like a kiosk or a news agent and, beg our parents to buy us a little pack at the end when they just really wanted to buy, I don't know, newspapers, cigarettes, whatever, or like a metro ticket. In Italy, you can buy at these kiosks. It's so fun. You can actually buy subway tickets at the news agent, which makes so much sense. I thought that was really cool. But
Cool.
so that's kind of like the NBA Top Shots, and now that's coming to soccer. There are other big companies, including traditional card collector companies like Tops, like from baseball, who are all entering that space. And then it's a digital card. It's like so you can collect, you can switch. I'm very wary now of the word collect. I will try to use that less, but
it's fine. I mean, I just worry that the more the IRS hears the word collect, like associated with NFTs, we're going to be classifying them as collectibles. And the only reason that's bad is because collectibles are a specific classification of asset within the tax code that have a higher tax rate. So the tax rate for collectibles is 28%, which is much higher than either of the two capital gains classifications. And so that's the only reason that we don't want NFTs considered to be collectibles, at least in the eyes of the IRS, even though we all know at heart they are collectibles and we're holding. But yeah,
noted.
Not that the IRS is listen to me anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess it depends who you ask, because I think we treat them like that because we appreciate the art. We want to support artists, or we appreciate a certain soccer player that we're hoping to get in one of these raffles. Whereas a lot of people treat it maybe more as a stock. So they buy it at mint price. Mint price for people new to the space means when there's like a drop of like new NFTs, there'll typically be one blanket price that people enter in at, and then they'll get like a random one, or they can choose one. Usually they'll get given a random one. And then their hope is that, that might be the cheapest price in the future. Whereas a lot of the time, actually, the price will then go down. So again, do your own research, not financial advice. Mint price is as risky as other things. But where was I going with this? Yeah, I think we treat them maybe as like things that we want to hold on to, where other people treat them more as like a stock or whatever.
True, and see the flip potential, for money making opportunity. Yeah, so it depends. But I'm with you. I sort of only buy projects that I really am interested in and would be happy holding for the long term, regardless of what happens. I mean, it'd be great if they go up in value and then we could borrow against our portfolio. That's sort of the more long-term financial play, I think, for a lot of people that are collecting and holding, but to be seen.
What does that mean, like to borrow against your portfolio? How would that look?
Yeah, so this is actually already possible, but if you have a portfolio of cryptocurrency and or a portfolio of NFTs that have a reasonably determinable fair market value, there are companies like Nexo, for example. Nexo does crypto only, I believe. Apologies if I'm misspeaking. But you essentially can take out a loan against the value of your portfolio of NFTs or crypto. And so say your NFT portfolio has a market value that's determined to be $50,000. Good for you. A company will allow you to take out a loan in US dollars against the value of that portfolio at some percentage. So you'll open an account with that company, transfer your crypto and or NFTs over to your account. Similar like opening a bank account, you move some funds over. And then by holding your NFTs or cryptocurrency in your account with that company as collateral, they'll issue you a US dollar loan. And receiving funds in the form of a loan is not taxable to you. So you'll have access to fiat and liquidity to use to do whatever you want, kind of treat it like a personal loan from a bank. And then you'll just make loan repayments, and the interest on those loan repayments is tax deductible to you as well. So it's going to be a great way to access some liquidity for people who don't want to sell a really valuable NFT because they love it. You can keep it and just borrow against the value of it.
Smart. And you said the company that does that right now is that NEXXO or Nexo?
I don't know if there's two X's or one, but it's Nexo. Yeah, NEXO. Yeah. And there are others too. That's just sort of the first that came to mind that I've have looked at, but yeah, I imagine there will be many, many more that pop up in the near future, especially as NFT portfolios, become more and more valuable over the years. So it's a great option financially for people who intend on holding, especially NFTs for the long haul.
Yeah, there's so much innovation in this space. I think, in newspaper articles right now, we often see the kind of like outrageous stuff that's going to get a reaction. So we see a lot of like this is how much Bitcoin fell overnight, or this is how much this JPEG went for, but there's so much innovation and entrepreneurship between the lines. So that's really cool. I had no idea that you could even do that. Maybe I'll have to have the Nexo people on.
Definitely. You should.
Yeah. Kate, I always I've kept you 50 minutes and I said 20 to 40, so I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's fun.
I always try to ask like one kind of fun question at the end. So when I had the upstream guys on, Alex Taub and Drew Austin, to speak about DAOs in the first episode, I asked them who their favorite sports franchise and who their favorite TV, like what their favorite TV show is. But with you, I'll mix it up. Can you speak to what's your favorite NFT that you hold right now, and how did you find it?
Oh wow, that's gonna be so hard. You can't make me choose.
Or maybe you can say like 2 or 3. I don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, because oh my goodness. Well, the first. Well, actually, when I say the first NFT that I ever bought, I always say that it's Women and Weapons, but actually you've actually reminded me that technically the first NFT that I ever bought was an NBA Top Shot. So, oops. I've been saying all this time that my first ever NFT purchase was Women and Weapons. And I do sort of still stand by that, because like first JPEG, PFP project, like that is the first sort of NFT I've purchased. But actually, because of my sports background as well, Top Shot was the first conceptual NFT that I felt comfortable enough understanding and investing. So, oops, I did get a LeBron James dunk though, so I'm proud of that. But
you did?
Top Shot aside, yeah, I would say, gosh, I'm a collector of female-led sort of women empowerment projects, and so Women and Weapons was the first, and that will always sort of hold a special place in my heart. Really support Sarah, the creator behind that project. But the second project that I bought into was Boss Beauties, and I actually found a Boss Beauty that is one of her traits is finance. So she's in like a finance suit. And I think the Boss Beauties project has a lot of potential to grow, because people will identify with the traits that those NFTs have. And I'm a perfect example of that. I found a finance one and felt really attached to it and wanted to buy it. And so I really
what was could you just repeat the name of that project?
The Boss Beauties.
Boss Beauties, nice.
Yeah, they're fantastic project, and they just announced recently a partnership with Marvel, and they're the first NFT project to ever be displayed at the New York Stock Exchange, which is really exciting. Wow. Yeah, I think that project's got a lot of potential to be sort of following the footsteps of World of Women and putting female-led projects kind of on the world stage. So I really can't, that's why I can't choose. All these projects are so fantastic. But yeah, if I continue beyond that, I'll just go through my entire NFT collection, and then we'll be here for a while. So we'll just cap it at Women and Weapons and Boss Beauties for now. But I love every project that I hold. And if you're interested in knowing exactly what I have, I'm always really transparent about that and the projects I support. So just ask on Twitter.
Yeah, awesome. I put it here in the notes if anyone. I usually I just love podcasts. I'm not wild about like YouTube podcasts. So when I listen to something like what we're doing right now, I'll literally be on a run and just have it in my pocket. So if that's you right now, if you're listening to this on a run, maybe in March 2022, get out your phone, because I just put Kate's favorite NFT projects here on the screen, and then you can screenshot them and check them out for yourselves. And here's her Twitter once more. and her website, which will soon have a different name to be announced, but it will still direct you to that. So,
Yes. Yep.
you know, yeah, Kate, thank you so much for coming on. This was a blast. I'm really happy that we both managed to wake up early with our coffee at 8
Yes.
a.m. on a Monday to
Yes.
get this done.
It's nice that we're in the same time zone, actually. A lot of clients that I have conversations with are in a completely different time zone. And so sometimes the scheduling can get a little bit funky, but always happy to find a fellow New Yorker. And this is so much fun. This is my favorite topic to talk about. And so really a pleasure to be here. And, as the tax information, improves and develops over the next year or so, I'd always be happy to come back and give you an update if there's significant changes. So definitely keep in touch.
That's a great idea. Because we didn't even talk about the stimulus bill and the infrastructure spending.
Right. Oh my gosh, probably best not to, given how uncertain a lot of that is. But
yeah, that might be a good thing to revisit. In
right.
2023.
That's a perfect thing. Yeah, perfect one to revisit, I think. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kate. I really appreciate you. And I will also be checking out Boss Beauties, and because I've seen Women and Weapons a little bit.
Yep.
But I haven't and the weapons, like you said, they'll be things, they don't necessarily have to be like things that are like meant to kill people. It will be like cool alternatives. Right. They apply that really liberally. But I haven't seen the Boss Beauties yet, and really excited to see that they're partnering with Marvel. I have a lot of friends that love that like whole universe, so that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely check them out, and we should just chat offline too about other projects that we like. There's so many great ones, but thank you so much for having me on, and anytime I can help or come back and chat, I would love to.
Great. All right. Have a good week, everyone.